So my name is John Kosch, and I am a doctoral student in music composition at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. I did my bachelor's in music education with a composition emphasis here at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln. And when I first started experiencing success, it was in jazz composition. And people started referring to me as a jazz composer or the jazz composer. And I found that really odd. It didn't feel quite right. It felt strangely limiting, as if all I could write was jazz and all I ever was going to write was jazz. And I think that feeling has informed my approach to composition from here on out, that I strive to write in many different styles and to bring them together or to use them to expressive ends, rather than confining my artistic identity to some aesthetic values. I think of it more as philosophical values beyond aesthetics. I do dabble with jazz composition. I do dabble with more traditional classical composition. I'm informed by my love for film music, popular music styles like metal and rock. And I try to find a way to kind of reconcile all those things in my compositions, usually for live performers. I think something that has come up a lot as I applied for graduate studies and as I begin applying for jobs on the academic market, the question that has arisen is, what is your artistic identity? What is your kind of compositional voice? And I've had to really wrestle with that since I don't have clean aesthetic answers. And so some of my artistic work is focused on things like existentialism, like what is the meaning of life, or how do we respond to our own existence? Some of it is, especially lately, a love for the ambiguous and finding ways in different styles and mediums to create ambiguity that is interesting, to kind of play in this uncanny valley that is intriguing for audiences and performers alike. I have found that I rarely, if ever, enjoy composing in a vacuum for myself. I think I view composition as a dialogue with performers or a dialogue with audiences. And so a lot of what I end up doing artistically is somewhat dictated by other parties, what people ask me to do, or what I think is going to be impactful for the people that I have in front of me. Currently, I'm working on my final project, my dissertation piece, which is a multi-movement work for voice and percussion ensemble. And it just happened to be the interest of the moment. We have a great percussion studio here at UNL. I had a great vocalist in mind, and it just kind of happened to come together, inspired by the friends that I had around me. This document was really one of the first pieces in a while that was less dictated by other people, and it had to be kind of self-driven. My piece draws from existential texts throughout recorded human history. It starts with the Bhagavad Gita in the original Sanskrit. It has some scripture in the original Hebrew and comes all the way to 2025 in like modern, English poetry. And so in order to honor these texts and to really do them justice, I've had to learn about not just the musical cultures themselves that are kind of associated with those texts and those time periods, but I've literally had to take a deep dive into linguistics to make sure that I'm setting Sanskrit in a way that is intelligible or setting Hebrew in a way that makes sense. I didn't expect to have to do that much homework on it, but that has been almost exclusively like where my focus has been. One thing that I did while writing this piece was I met with another UNL alum, Steve Kaup, who is a composer and works at Nebraska Wesleyan University. He was my aural skills teacher way back in the day, but he's involved with the Jewish community here in Lincoln and is more familiar with Jewish liturgical music. He shared some nuggets of wisdom that then had direct musical consequences in the piece, where a lot of the text that I was using would normally be sung by a soloist, by a cantor, but maybe at important parts, the congregation would then join in. And that inspired a moment where even though in the rest of the piece I have these solo moments in the Hebrew, at the end of the piece, I'm going to have a recorded choir singing in Hebrew along with our soloists as if it's a congregation, and to further emphasize that particular Hebrew text in a way that feels authentic to that particular community. Once I've done the kind of extra musical homework, the musical part comes pretty naturally to me, which I think is why I tend to stay so long in the non-musical or extra musical side of things. I think once it's part of you and is inside you, then the translating part is really simple.